Hi, this is Scott MacDonald of YourOccultAV.com, back with another edition of video reviews. This week we'll be looking at the Blu-rays of Star Trek Enterprise and some Blu-ray and DVD editions of some classic TV shows, including Aunt of Lucy, The Honeymooners, The Andy Griffith Show, and Shout Factory's recent release of The Bob Newhart Show, the complete series. Let's begin. Star Trek Enterprise. When this show came on the air, back in the early 2000s, I ignored it. I was in school, I didn't have time to really watch network TV, and I fell behind on my Star Trek. And from what I was hearing from friends and fans, I wasn't missing out on much. A few months ago, I got a hold of the Season 3 Blu-ray with the Xindi arc, and was pleasantly surprised to learn that not only was Enterprise a really good representation of Star Trek in that era, but it was a great sci-fi show in its own right. So, CBS has just issued Season 4 on Blu-ray, which is the final season of Enterprise, and while watching that I decided to go back and check out Seasons 1 and 2. Seasons 1 and 2 of Star Trek Enterprise feel like very familiar territory if you're a fan of Star Trek the original series or The Next Generation, in that the episodes feel more episodic in structure, a little bit more monster of the week at times. And like the first few seasons of Next Generation, it doesn't feel like the show it would become later on. So you have great chemistry by the cast. You have some excellent stories. In fact, the opening of the show, Broken Bow, may be one of the best introductions to a Star Trek series that I can recall seeing. But once again, it appears to be a show struggling to find its feet at this point. When we come to Season 3 with the epic season-long Xindi arc, the show changes. It's darker. It's more in depth. The cast have become more like a family, and the show is running on all cylinders. So then we get to Season 4, the Xindi arc is over, and the show takes another change. The episodes become more serialized. Think along the lines of old Doctor Who, where you would have 1, 2, or 3, well, at the time, 2, 4, or 6, maybe 7 episodes telling one story. These are 2 to 3 hours of complete storytelling to tell one whole adventure. And it seems at the point that Season 4 ended, although it does have its share of dud episodes, and you'll find that in almost any series of Star Trek, it was really starting to find its feet, and I feel like the network hadn't canceled it. We were beginning to see the golden era of this particular show. Now, as far as Enterprise on Blu-ray, the editions look good. They're not up to the standard of Next Generation or the original series on Blu-ray, but they will look good on an HD screen. There's a lot of nice detail, nice black levels. Just don't go in preparing to have your mind blown. Each set comes with an outstanding series of extras, including documentaries, interviews, deleted scenes, and commentaries. Of course, if you bought any Star Trek Blu-rays in recent memory from CBS of either the original series or Next Generation, you'll know that they take archival content from previous editions and create new content, and altogether it creates an outstanding package. Overall, Season 4 of Enterprise, which has just seen release in April, is highly recommended by YourOccultAV.com. As is Season 3. The other 2 are also recommended, but not as highly. But if you are a completist like I am, you're going to want them anyway. This is the classic TV portion of video reviews. Right this month, May 2014, sees the release of 3 classic TV Blu-rays from CBS. These are from the golden age of television, aka the 1950s and 60s, and we begin with The Honeymooners. Honeymooners is a show from the mid-50s created by Jackie Gleason and co-stars Art Carney. Basically, Gleason plays Ralph Cramden, who frequently comes up with schemes to try and better his existence in the easiest way possible, and drags his wife Alice and his best friend Ed and her wife Trixie into the antics. The show socially feels dated, but some of the humor present still works right now to this day. I've always been a pretty big fan of Golden Age television shows through an obsession with Nick at Night when I was a teenager and a child. So I'm pretty familiar with most of these episodes. The Blu-ray is a 1080p transfer presented in the show's original 1:33:1 aspect ratio. You know what that means? It's full screen, so if you're buying this and you're now expecting a widescreen image, don't. You're going to have black bars on the side. That is how TV shows were shot before the last decade. The transfer is a suitable upgrade from prior editions, but it is imperfect. It's not like they did a frame-by-frame restoration like the recent Star Trek Next Generation Blu-rays. However, if you are a longtime fan of the show, you're going to be suitably impressed. Actually, those AV comments could also be mentioned for I Love Lucy and Andy Griffith. Both shows, all three shows rather, have excellent black and white restoration. Nice contrast, strong detail, and they'll look like you have never seen them before. Also, there's a healthy level of grain present because, of course, shows in this era were shot on film, not video. Okay, so that's the Honeymooners. Next up, one of TV's most iconic sitcoms, I Love Lucy. Lucy stars Lucille Ball and her then-husband Desi Arnaz as Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. They live in an apartment above their two neighbors, the Mertzes, and basically it is the domestic comedy that comes from their day-to-day life. The episodes involved here include the famous Vitamin and Vegemin episode, amongst other things, and this I found a really fascinating Blu-ray set, because you basically get the broadcast versions along with the rerun versions of I Love Lucy. Now, obviously, not many of us will have seen the first run broadcast of the show, but the sponsor was a cigarette manufacturer, and apparently they had their own brand at the time, Philip Morris. So if you watch the broadcast version of the first episode, you'll see a Philip Morris representative sit down on the set of I Love Lucy and discuss the benefits of smoking their cigarettes. And then in the episode itself, all four characters are rampantly smoking cigarettes. So it's kind of interesting to see how the sponsorship dictated the use of the product right in the show. One, you're seeing the product being used, and then in the middle of the episode, they cut to commercial, and you see a product test, a comparison, kind of like the, if you're like a 90s kid like me, remember the Pepsi challenge, Pepsi versus Coke? Well, it's the Philip Morris cigarette versus whatever brand was being smoked by the taste tester. The restoration, as I said earlier, is fantastic all the way around. There are limitations. They didn't do a frame-by-frame restoration, but fans of the show will certainly be pleased by the outcome of the Blu-ray, and of course there will be, I think, 6 or 7 more of these to come. There are some extras, including makeup tests and instructions by Robert Osborne, who, if you're a fan of Turner Classic Movies, you'll recognize his name. Alright, we get to Andy Griffith. Now, I'll be straight. I watched the show a lot as a kid. I don't know, it was just something I watched to fill time, but I never connected with the show. Like shows like The Partridge Family, The Brady Bunch, I felt it depicted an overly false reality that even at a young age, I could see through. So, I have friends and family that were always up to dig into the overly staged comedic world of Griffith, but that wasn't me. However, it is a part of our television heritage. It also stars young Ron Howard as Opie, so if you want to see where the director of The Da Vinci Code, Splash, and Eat My Dust got his start, or was it Grand Theft Auto? I think it was Grand Theft Auto that Howard directed, actually. Then go check this Blu-ray out. Similar to the other restorations, it looks really good, and it comes with the 1986 spin-off movie Return to Mayberry, which I haven't seen in about 20 years, so that was an interesting little time capsule as far as the show goes. Now we come to the monster in the room. Okay, so this isn't a Blu-ray, it's a DVD. Shout Factory releases one of their comprehensive editions, The Bob Newhart Show, the complete series. Now, Shout Factory has seemingly been in the Newhart business heavy this year, with multiple seasons of the other Newhart sitcom, simply titled Newhart, being released individually throughout late 2013 and early 2014. We now get the complete package of the original Bob Newhart sitcom from the 70s, starring Suzanne Pleshette and Bob Newhart, amongst others. Bob Newhart in this show plays a psychiatrist, and basically it's a situational comedy about his life. And I remember watching the show on Nick at Night when I was younger, and I remember being really amused. And the comedy and Newhart's dry wit certainly hold up to this day. The extras package includes a 2014 sit-down with Newhart with the cast, the original pilot, a 19th anniversary special, and multiple audio commentary tracks. And most of the extras, of course, are loaded on an extras disc that you will get when you buy the complete edition. I love the work Shout Factory does on their complete series disc. You know, in the last few years, they've released the fantastic soap opera parody Mary Hartman, the complete Dobie Gillis, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. You know, all the restoration work is pretty straightforward on the DVDs. These are probably the best you're ever going to see them until the Blu-ray restoration is undertaken at some future date. But what you get is all the episodes for a reasonable price, a decent amount of extras, and you get the dry wit of Bob Newhart. So, Bob Newhart, the complete series set, comes highly recommended. The Honeymooners comes highly recommended. I Love Lucy comes highly recommended. Andy Griffith Show, that comes recommended because of the restoration, because of the extras. It's not my personal cup of tea, but if you enjoy that sort of thing, go and pick it up. Overall, that is all we have for you this week on video reviews. We'll be back next week with 8 titles across 4 Blu-rays of Godzilla that Sony is releasing on Blu-ray.